I wanted to share with you today a couple of stories, because I do know that most of you probably are feeling quite beaten up most of the time, especially if you're following US news. So I'm here to kind of pump you up a little bit and let you know that things are not as bad as they feel, and that we still have ways for our ideas. So I'm going to start with the first story. Two things. I've been battling on two fronts mostly this past year. One of them has to be about this most dogmatic issue of our time that the climate change issue has become. So I happen to speak to a lot of business groups in the US and internationally. And unfortunately, as you might know, recently a group of 450 of the most powerful the most powerful corporations, along with some NGOs, as well as the EU and the American government, have decided that, you know what, we have this great idea that to save the world, we're going to have to force the halting of fossil fuels by 2030. They all think it's a great idea. They all think, great savers of the world. Earth is going to hell in 12 years. We got to stop everything. And I'm standing over there, usually the only one from Africa around the table, these boardrooms of such, and saying, wait a second, guys, do you know what that might mean to 1.3 billion people that live on my continent, where 700 million people live in homes using cooking food using biomass? We're talking about charcoal as well as wood. Do you have any idea what your great idea is about to do to them? We're talking about 1 to 2 million women, especially, dying every single year. Why? Because their lungs are getting burnt, cooked by these fumes. So indoor air pollution, whenever they want to tell us climate change is killing so many people, follow the data. The data coming from the people who say that to you, if you follow the data, you will see that actually half of those deaths are from indoor pollution, because of what I just talked about. When you're faced with something like that, with such facts, do you really think that any decent human being can just sit there and be like, oh, a great idea is still a great idea? What you just did right there is force them to reconsider. And they do reconsider. So anytime I had to lead these battles, eventually this side of the argument won. And it does win, because at the end of the day, most of us are decent human beings. Yes, are 1% of us psychopaths? Absolutely, you get it. But the 99% of the rest of us are just decent human beings trying to make it up as we're going, bumbling along as we're making it, as we're going. So this is a place where I have found that we actually can keep gaining, momentum and terrain. It's not that we don't care about the climate change. I certainly care about Earth. I care about the environment. I am known for that, right? But on Earth, we also have these people. So you cannot tell me, especially if you're telling me that you care about Black lives, that Black lives matter, well, how about the fact that you're about to mess up the place where 90% of a representative of a Black race lives, namely Africa? Don't we have a problem there? So you see how it's always turning it upside down on itself. And so this led me to having my op-ed being published in the Wall Street Journal. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to see it. It's called the COP26 Plan to Keep Africa Poor. And from there, Jordan Peterson retweeted it to all of his followers. So I am saying this because this is a winnable part of the argument. And what I have found with this is, instead of us just sitting there and arguing with one another, you climate alarmist, you climate denier, and pointing fingers at each other, it's about, hey, can we go back to people? Can we go back to thinking about people? And can we do it in an inclusive way? Because just like the yellow vest, the yellow vest in France, I'm sure all of you have heard of it. It started because they raised, the price of oil, and people said, you're talking to me about the end of the planet. I'm talking about the end of a month. So yeah, you talk to me about ending fossil fuels because otherwise Earth is going to explode, but then I'm telling you, let's say I even agree with you that in 12 years it's all over, which I don't agree with, but let's say I agree with you. Then what do we do? Do we sacrifice 1.3 billion Africans, and I'm not even counting the other people in the rest of the developing world? We just sacrifice them on that altar? It's a very hard proposition to stand by. No one decent will stand by that proposition. So what does it do again? It will make you rethink. And as people rethink, then we start looking at evidence. Then we're more willing to listen and to hear from other sides because we're trying to solve a solution. So I leave you with that one because I know many people in this room feel that that argument is cooked because it has become a religion. I'm telling you, there's an Achilles heel to all of this. That's the way to go. Second, I have been working with market advocates of Africa, in Africa and the African governments there. And because so many people are very interested in what is it going to take to bring prosperity on this continent. And I talk about Africa because it's my continent, my beloved continent. And one thing I discovered as I went, especially this year, is that so many people have no understanding of the distinction between civil law and common law, and the fact that common law is so much better for business. And so, just recently, I was talking with a right hand of one of the African governments. I can't say the country. And after we finished, he said, "Magatte, I had no idea. I've never heard because this is from." Old French colony, so they all follow French civil law primarily because the French didn't give us any choice, unlike the Anglo-Saxon colonies. And he's like, I never heard of it. But this, to me, is a great hope. You see, nothing scares me more than when there is a problem and no one seems to know what the problem is, what the issue is of a diagnosis. But once people hear the diagnosis, a bulb goes on, and then we can work from there. So this is also another really bright spot. So what we're doing now is working actually with this government to create what we're going to call zones, common law zones. And it's a fascinating process. So you see, in the end, I want to add one more thing. For those of you who have been following, Nigeria just birthed 3 unicorns in the past 6 months. I don't know if you guys have been following. All over the continent, entrepreneurs are moving around, doing great stuff. And they're doing it under the worst of circumstances. They don't benefit from the economic freedom that the US has or other rich countries have. Yet, this is a type of successes we're hearing about. Imagine what would happen on this place if they had access to greater economic freedom, better law, primarily the common law, right? Some of them have it, some of them don't. And also if they had expanded access to affordable and reliable energy. Just imagine what would happen on that place when they're already doing what they're doing under some of the worst circumstances. This, my friends, is the great hope out there, the delta that can be achieved in terms of results. And so this is why the work of Atlas Network is so important as far as I'm concerned. And it's never been more important than today. And it is why today I'm here also. I was excited to be here because this is my moment of thank you. Thank you to everyone in this room who has been supporting Atlas, from the staff, the donors, the friends of Atlas, the partners, everyone. This is really a shout from my heart of big, big thank you. These ideas matter. They're making a difference every single day in people's lives, real people's lives, and these ideas might just be what's going to make the difference between me being a respected person as a black person on this earth or not being a respected human being. These ideas are powerful. They're unfortunately not always the most popular, but they do matter. You matter to me, and I just wanted to thank you, and please keep going, because so much depends on this. Thank you, guys.